G'day and welcome to the Good Source and the Bernie Gaynor Show. I'm joined today by Monica Smith, who has started Reignite Democracy in Victoria. As we are all aware, there have been very draconian lockdowns due to COVID-19 in Victoria. Monica Smith and thousands of other Australians are very unhappy with these lockdowns, and I'm going to talk to her today about Reignite Democracy and how it all got off the ground. Monica Smith, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about Reignite Democracy. How did it start?
On accident, really, but basically where it really started was one of my friends who was organising a protest and obviously had to delay it because of the new laws that were coming in. Got a phone call from a policeman who he's been working with. He's works with him a lot, and the policeman said, you can't have your protest, right? And he said, well, of course I know that, but I still would like to go on my own. This was about 3 months ago, by the way, so it wasn't stage 4 lockdown. I would like to go on my own to the steps of Parliament with a megaphone and just get what I want out. That's it. I might just have one camera person and that's it. And the policeman said, no, you can't do that. And I thought, wait a second, that's actually just oppression. That's not even logical. There's no one around to transmit COVID or anything. So that's when I thought, geez, there's no way for Victorians to get their voices heard. So I thought of the idea of a live stream protest. So I just thought I'll just go live. I'll give people an opportunity to write their comments, and I will collate the comments and I will send it to all the MPs so that they know exactly how their constituents are feeling. Now, I did that and it had, 1,500 views, 1,500 people live watching it, had 35,000 views. It had 4,500 comments that I then had to collate myself and get volunteers. And it just kind of, it just became its own little beast after that, really.
Okay. And so this initial protest where your friend was told he couldn't go to the steps of Parliament, was this around the same time as the Black Lives Matter protest in Melbourne?
It was not far after that, not long after that. It would have been the end of June. Yeah, it would have been a couple of weeks after the Black Lives Matter protest, yes. Okay,
so tens of thousands of people were allowed to attend the Black Lives Matter protest, but the police told this one person he could not go to Parliament House and express his views about the situation in Victoria.
Yes, well, the nature of his protest was a bit different to the Black Lives Matter one. He's very anti Dan Andrews and anti the Chinese relationship that Dan Andrews has been, working on for many years. So that could be part of the reason.
So it sounds like protests are allowed or not, depending on the political views that the protesters might put forward. That's a bit concerning. So since you started Reignite Democracy, how much support have you received?
A lot. It just started growing organically from the beginning. And then there was the extension to the state of emergency. And I jumped on that bandwagon really quickly and I put out a survey. And within 2 days, I had 18,000 new email subscribers just for that survey. All it said was, do you agree with the state of emergency, yes or no? So that's kind of where I was happy. I had 1,500 subscribers already and I was happy with that. And then it just went up to 20,000 in 2 days. And I was like, what the heck? I've just, this is now out of my control. This is important now. I've got all these thousands of people depending on me. And so I've gotten hardly any trolls, hardly any negativity. It's all been positive.
Okay, so why do you think so many people have come on board to support you? What does this say about what people think about the lockdowns in Victoria?
Well, what I've been hearing from members of Parliament that I work closely with as well is that the people that are getting involved now are everyday Australians that have never cared about politics. So they're hearing from constituents, they don't even know their names because, there's always those people that are always making noise no matter what's going on. But this time it's really just everyday Aussies who are hurting. And I think what I created and how I slogan myself, I guess, is I'm like a medium between the everyday. Sorry. I'm so sorry about that. I don't know how to turn that off. Decline, sorry. So I slogan myself as the medium between the everyday hardworking Aussie and our elected leaders. So I provide tools for them to communicate with their leaders. And I think that's, people are just so thankful to get some direction on how to do that. So yeah, that's what I think I'm doing.
Okay, so obviously there are a lot of people who are concerned. Can you tell us, I understand you live in Melbourne or not far from Melbourne. What's it been like in Victoria? Can you give Australians who aren't in Melbourne in particular a snapshot into life as a Melburnian over the past 3 or 4 months?
Yeah, that's an extremely loaded question. And I think it would be very different for every demographic. I think I've been spared a lot of the emotional trauma because of what I've been doing. It's kept me very distracted. And I also have a really great family support network that keeps my mental state quite well. However, from what I've heard from other people is absolutely heartbreaking. I mean, you just got to look at the different demographics. So you've got the little kids are probably okay. They'll get through it, you know, but the teenagers, I think, is a big problem. Suicide rates have gone up. Parents have lost just all their children have just, they're breaking apart, basically. Business owners, you know, it's never ending. But I'll tell you what the biggest issue is, I think, mentally, is that we are imprisoned in our own homes. And although it looks good because we've got our, you know, we've got our TV and we've got our food and all that sort of stuff. I went to go drive 10 minutes away the other day with my mum to go to a support group, and we got knocked back at the checkpoint. And I didn't cause a fight or anything. I didn't want to do that. But I was told to go home. And that was a really weird feeling. And mentally, I think that's a real struggle to know that you cannot go 10 minutes away. So some people are faring better than others. But then you see the footage of grandmas getting arrested and pregnant women getting arrested. And if you watch too much of the media, you're going to become seriously depressed. So it's really, you just have to constantly check yourself. And if anyone's listening that is in Victoria, we have a trick in my family that if we are regurgitating the same information over and over again and we catch ourselves, we say red alert, and we change the topic. Because unless it's new information, we're just going to say the same depressing stuff over and over again. So I don't know if that answers your question well enough.
No, thank you for that. I'm joined by Monica Smith, the founder of Reignite Democracy, on the Bernie Gaynor Show. We have seen those grandmothers being arrested, pregnant women being arrested, people being harassed for eating kebabs or sitting down or going to the beach. Have the police spoken to you at all, Monica, about Reignite Democracy?
Actually, no, not at all. I think there's a few reasons for that. The first one is I never promote anything that is illegal, even under these laws, how ridiculous they are or not. I haven't even towed the line. I just have not involved myself in anything like that. I am ready for that when the time is right, as in when it's legal, because I'm looking at the long game. And if I get arrested and get gagged and things like that, then the whole platform dies. So I'm actually having to be very careful. But so they haven't contacted me at all. I have had a warning on Facebook, not sure what that really means, but no, I have not been contacted at all.
Okay, so was that warning from Facebook itself? They were unhappy with some information you were putting out?
It was very vague, and I forgot to screenshot it, so I don't have it. But it was just basically you've breached a community something, and you might get banned. So I've safeguarded myself by getting subscribers to subscribe, and I own those email addresses, and Facebook, or they can't do anything about that part. So I'm prepared for that.
Well, getting a warning from Facebook is certainly something that many people have experienced. Are the politicians listening to you, and has the media shown any interest in Reignite Democracy at all?
It's funny that you should ask that because, yeah, at the beginning I had a few media calls. It turns out they weren't interested in Reignite Democracy. They were interested in trying to link me with some other people who were being questioned on 60 Minutes and things like that. So I don't think they want to give me too much airtime, which is fine. Sorry, what was the other part of the question? So
are any politicians listening to what Reignite Democracy is saying? You know, the survey that you put out, the emails that supporters are sending to them. Are they listening?
Well, I definitely have my favourite MPs that have been working with me from the beginning. David Limbrick, a couple of Liberal MPs, and Catherine Cumming. And they've actually helped me a lot. Bernie Finn, David Davis. They've actually been giving me advice on the down low on how to campaign and stuff. So I really appreciate that. I will say that I've been a little bit disappointed with the Liberal Party as a whole, because I feel like I'm doing a lot, and I feel like they could be supporting me a little bit more, because I'm not aligned with the Liberal Party. I'm not party affiliated, but on this particular topic, we seem to be aligned more with the Liberals. Later on down the track, we might be against the Liberals with something, but it would be great if we could work together. I feel like as a whole party, the Liberals haven't really helped me as much as they could have, but as individual members of Parliament, quite a few of them have definitely helped me, but I've helped them too. And I think they see my platform as a free promotion tool, which I'm totally fine with. I've definitely been getting help, but I would like more.
Sure. And can you just outline some of the concerns about the current restrictions and also the omnibus bill that has been put through, I think, the lower house in Parliament? Correct me if I'm wrong on that, and what that allows police and others to do in Victoria. Why is it such a concern?
Okay, so it has passed the lower house already. We have a huge majority of Labor in the lower house, and I don't know if you know, but Labor members basically aren't allowed to vote against Dad Andrews, or else they lose their jobs. So that would be a heroic thing if that happened, and I'd love that to happen, but it doesn't. So the upper house it's coming on the 13th of October, and there is a chance of it being voted no on. There is a chance, but anyway. What it means for us, geez, it's a really scary thing. I did an interview with Craig Kelly, and he said that if this bill was going to Parliament in Hong Kong, that it would be all over the Australian media because of the human rights violations that it creates. But it's happening here in Victoria, and I'm talking about it more than the mainstream media is. Why that is, I'm not 100% sure. But there are some clauses in there that basically means that anyone can be considered high risk based on the directives from the Chief Health Officer, which, as we've seen, they come up with rules left, right, and centre that don't really make sense. And they can appoint anyone to come and arrest you because of that high risk. And if you have children, then you could be separated from your children for up to 30 months, is what I've heard from people. So the concerning thing is that anyone can come to my house if this goes through. My neighbour, if my neighbour doesn't like me, they could find a reason to say that I'm a health risk to society, and they could actually detain me, and I would be forcefully isolated due to health concerns for an undefined amount of time and with no recourse. So I can't even fight it or anything. So that's pretty scary.
It is very scary, and I've been talking to some people in Victoria who have told me that their neighbours have been dobbing on them for certain activities. I think that's one of the greatest concerns about the COVID restrictions. It seems to have turned Australians against each other. Monica Smith, thank you so much for everything you're doing to protect democracy in Victoria. Wish you all the best. Before you go, can you please let us know how people can find Reignite Democracy and get information that you're putting out?
Yeah, so we've got a website, reignitedemocracyaustralia.com.au, and we're on Facebook as well. And if you're in Victoria, we're running letterbox drops campaigns to fight the omnibus bill, email campaigns, a media blitz campaign. We're always putting out actions because it helps Victorians use their energy for a positive thing instead of just being depressed. So if you're in Victoria especially, get on board and participate so that you feel better.
Monica Smith, thank you very much for all your work with Reignite Democracy.
Thanks for your time.
The Bernard Gaynor Show is a production of The Good Source, hosted by Bernard Gaynor. To watch, listen to, or read more content without the SJW PC fact filter, visit goodsource.news, good SAUCE.news. Become a Good Source supporter for exclusive access to live and unedited interview recordings, including the conversations before and after the show.